and welcome again to our Tides of Change journey. We're still on the island of Hainan, but this leg of the journey actually took us here to Wenchang City. We're seeing the beautiful ocean, the beautiful beach, and the warm and salty sea breeze, but that's actually not what we're here for today. We're here for that. If you see those two towers behind me, they're actually Wenchang's spacecraft launch site. They're actually quite cool, quite significant, and joining me right now to talk more about them is Mr. Xu, who's the Director General of the Asia Pacific Space Cooperation Organization. Thank you again, sir, for joining us. Sir, talk to me about these two towers, why don't we?
Well, those are the launch pad, what we call launch pad of Long March 5 and Long March 7 series. This is the Hainan Satellite Launch Center, and it's the latest one as well as the most modern one. And we're using a new generation launch vehicle and the most famous Long March 5. And the lunar and Mars mission were all launched from here.
Right, so why is it, well, you talked about it being the newest. China has already had 4 spacecraft launch centers, and this one is the 4th one, and the most recent one, as you talked about before. And it's also significant on another level because it's located in a low latitude, right? It's only 19 degrees north of the equator. Why is that important?
It is chosen basically for geographic locations.
Right.
The most southern part, or the closer to the equator, the more efficient the rocket can be for launching payload into outer space. And also, it is chosen for its climate as well as the infrastructure. It has a port that can ship the rocket to this particular launch site and in preparation of the launch.
Right.
So there are many reasons.
So we actually have this diagram, if we can call it that, right here. So these would be basically the 2 towers that we saw behind us, right?
Exactly. This is the mirror image of what we see behind us. And on this left-hand side is the integration and assembly center. The rocket was manufactured in different locations, and the parts are assembled vertically in this facility.
But they're assembled vertically?
Because the launching status is vertical, so we have to keep it that way so that we minimize all the faults and issues and could occur during the erection of the rocket. So we assemble them vertically and transport them to the launch pad vertically and launch them vertically.
So this, you helped us recreate this under the hot sun. And this would be the track. Yeah, this would be the real track that we once the rocket is assembled, we using the track to put them into that launch pad, and then we launch it from the launch pad itself. Right. And I just also want to tell our audience how precious of a guest Mr. Xu is. I have my cell phone with me, so if you have any questions related to China's rocket programs, feel free to leave comments across our social media platforms. And here, they will be ready for launch. Yeah, this is the launch pad itself. The launch pad is, once the rocket is all fully assembled, it is going to be shipped to this particular site. And on this track, it will take about 2 or 3 hours. And then once it's located here, we will unlock the rocket. Many bolts and nuts will be needed to be unlocked. And then the rocket will be fueled before launch. So the rocket itself is separated into different segments. The core engine is using liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen to increase the efficiency once it is in outer space. The strap-down boosters are liquid kerosene rockets. These 4? These 4. In fact, there are 2 two rockets engine in each side, in each of the booster. So there are a total of 8 liquid kerosene rockets, and also a liquid hydrogen and oxygen rocket in the core. And also same for the second stage. So this segment, is, after burning, it will start initiating the second stage, which also has a reignition function. Right. So the payload that this rocket can carry is up to 25 metric ton to low Earth orbit. It's quite capable. Just explain what payload is, because I don't think our average audience would know. So normally the rocket is what we call expendable launch vehicle. These are all, after burning, all the fuels will be dropped in the Pacific Ocean. Okay. So those are expendable parts.
Only the and also the fairing itself. Once it's in outer space, the fairing will be deployed, and then so the precious cargo inside the fairing, namely the Chang'e 5 or the Tianwen or other cargos, will be exposed. Yes, exposed. Human, not on this rocket.
Not on this one.
Satellites and also space stations, it will be launched in this. So we call that part the payload itself. So payload is what the rocket is for.
Right. So essentially this would be the most important part of the rocket because we want this part to actually go into space.
This is what we want to put into space. It's not part of the rocket. It's the payload. Underneath that is the rocket itself. The rocket is to send them and insert them into the appropriate orbit.
Right.
And then put them into the right, what we call status and gesture and configuration. And once that is done, the rocket job is done. So it's up to the payload to work on itself.
I'm going to steal this and hopefully no one notices as we move on to keep it as a little souvenir. But essentially, Professor, when I was preparing for this show, it came to me that how little people actually know about rockets because, well, they certainly think about this when they think about a rocket. But what they didn't know was that this actually, like, all of this bottom part actually breaks off from what you said.
Exactly, and all of them, once it's in the lift-off stage, is 870 metric ton in total. So it is quite a huge configuration. And this is the largest one in China. Of course,
the Long March 5.
The Long March 5, and we're working on a bigger one, which has a launching capability of up to 100 metric ton to low Earth orbit.
So essentially, when we talk about rockets, they are basically something that you use to send stuff into the space.
It's like a train that you can ship to outer space. Whatever you want to carry to outer space, you use that as a vehicle. So we would call it a launch vehicle. It's a vehicle to carry stuff into outer space.
And then what happens when these parts all break off?
Some of them will burn in the atmosphere. Some will be dropped into the Pacific Ocean. Those are expendable parts.
Oh, they're expendable, so they're non-recyclable. You spend all this time and money to build this. And
exactly. So that is why we're working on recycled or reusable launch vehicle at this moment. And we see also international trends, and some of the companies are doing that and capable of doing it. And this is also, it's a good way to bring stuff back because people working on the rocket engines, they're not easy to build and they are using a lot of precious materials. Yes, exactly.
Yes. So right here we have this table full of wonderful models. This one is actually, if we can see, is 1 to 150. So the actual thing would be 150 times bigger than this one.
Like I said, it's 870 metric tons at the liftoff, and it's quite a huge configuration.
It's unthinkable to lift such a behemoth into the space. So to talk about these things, so from what you said, if I understand correctly, if I did my homework correctly last night, these things, all of these would be what would be put inside the payload?
Would be and had been, and these had been already in it. So what we call this Chang'e 5 mission. And also we had a Chang'e 6, which is redundancy of Chang'e 5. Once Chang'e 5 is successful, we will repurpose that mission to bring more international partners. So Chang'e 5 was successfully launched on board this Long March 5 last year. And
in November, quite recently actually.
Exactly, and it was able to bring back 1.7 plus kilos of lunar stones, lunar Earth. So we grabbed the moon and bring it back using the Chang'e 5 mission. Then this is the Chang'e 5 mission. So that was the...
I'm going to lift it up so that our audience can see it.
That was a successful mission to bring the sample back. As you can see, these are separated into different segments, what we call 4 craft, flying in different configurations and formats. So the lander and the ascending vehicle. So the lander lands on the surface of the moon, bring the robotic arm as well as the driller to drill samples and bring it to the sample collection capsule. And then the ascender will send the sample capsule back to the lunar orbit and dock with the return capsule as well as the orbiter. So the return capsule was able to come back to Earth, sometimes traveling from Moon to Earth in a week time.
Okay.
And then it was successfully launched in Sizhiwangqi in Inner Mongolia. and that was a successful mission. So the orbiter, once separated from the capsule, has been repurposed to L2 point between the Earth and the Sun. So it drifts in that particular position for more scientific purpose.
Okay,
so that was repurposed. Yeah, that was repurposed, and it's still in operation at this moment.
Wow. So just to explain to our audience, particularly audience members outside of China, Chang'e is basically China's moon goddess, right?
Oh, that you know better than me, because that was a legendary figure over 5,000 years.
Right.
I mean, the moon basically belonged to China. Because we had the goddess, the lady on the moon, but of course there are many different countries have their different legends. And,
like Saturn.
yes, like the Japanese have another one, and also in India culture they also have a man in the moon. So there are many, we call it Chandrayaan. So there are many different cultures on the moon, and that is the mission to the moon. As you mentioned also, this particular mission, the Tianwen Mars mission, if anyone doesn't know that, we have launched this mission together with the US mission as well as the UAE mission. Those were launched at the same time and arrived in the Mars orbit at the same time. So the Tianwen-1 was successfully inserted to the Mars orbit using the Long March 5 launch vehicle, and it's still circling and imaging the Mars surface, and it will be landing on the Mars surface sometime end of May and early June.
So that's something to expect. Actually, all three of this, well, this one hasn't been launched yet, but once it does, then all three of this would have been carried into the space by the Long March 5.
Yes, Long March 5 is designed for its big fairing, or we call it fairing, because the diameter is bigger.
Okay.
So the design has to be coming from the very first stage. When you design the stuff, you have to fit into the fairing. So the traditional fairing with 3.35 meters because of the limitation of the railway transport. So the Long March 5 is shipped from Tianjin port to Hainan, so it has a bigger diameter, and the space station as well as the missions can fit into the fairing and can have a bigger configuration.
Right, so we're going to get into the space station just a little bit later, but to talk about their names, I mean, this one, Chang'e, we explained that's the moon goddess, and this one, Tianwen, the literal translation is asking the sky. I just love how poetic these names are. And this one, like you talked about before, is a moon sample return.
Yes, before the lunar sample return mission, we did have another two missions. The Chang'e 1-2, which was an orbiters. Those were launched from different launch sites. And Chang'e 3 and 4. Chang'e 3 and 4 was a landing mission, deployment rovers. So the Chang'e 3 was successful, and based on that success story, we launched Chang'e 4 to the far side of the moon, which has never been done in human history. So that was unprecedented launching site, unprecedented scientific studies, and unprecedented data relay system using a halo satellite in the far side of the moon. So that was a very complex mission as well.
And even landing on the near side of the moon. The last time that mankind was able to do that was 40 years ago.
Oh yes, if you talk about human missions, those are more ambitious. So this also brings the Chang'e 5 into that configuration. If you think Chang'e 5 is a simple mission, you would be very wrong, because it's as complex as it could be in Chinese space history. So we had the whole process launched into this system, what we call a Chang'e 5 sample return system. That is a vivid imagination of what will happen once you have a lunar manned mission, as you mentioned.
And the ultimate goal of the whole Chang'e mission is to be able to send men into the space.
This is a shrunk mission of manned mission.
So every mission is a preparation for the next mission.
Yeah, as you said very correctly, every mission is based on history of successful technologies and validation of new technologies in preparation of future missions.
And why is it, I mean, we can see it's got the drill right here, right? That's that part you told me early this morning, that's the drill, right? If we can just show our audience, that's the drill.
The sample collection process is done in two ways. One is the scooping
This is the
this is the scooper.
Scooping arm.
Yes, you scoop the earth and bring it into the capsule.
Okay.
And the other one is drill. And
Right.
once you drill it, and you can ship all this, what you have drilled, subsurface materials. That is, you cannot be done by the scooping.
Right.
You can drill that into certain depth and bring those samples back as well.
And it has like all these cool scientific instruments installed on it, infrared analyzers, which tells it which kind of samples it wants to collect. Why is it important, Mr. Xu, to collect rocks and debris from? Don't we have enough of them on this Earth?
Oh yes, we do have many things on Earth, but the moon is quite different because on the lunar surface you have a different history of archaeologies and involvement. So we want to study the moon because it is exposed to outer space. It has no air on the moon, so it is fully and constantly exposed to cosmic ray, to bombardment of asteroid and many other exposures. So once those are exposed to the outer space, and also there's no organic materials on the surface of the moon. So some say you cannot grow anything on the surface of the moon. So you have to study those areas isotopically, chemically, radioactively, and physically to understand the evolvement and development of the moon, and to better understand and maybe protect the Earth itself. The moon is very important because it stabilizes the Earth rotation. It's also create the tide and create life. So moon is very important to study. And the region that Chang'e 5 landed is the newest region on the moon surface because of different craters. You can tell that the volcanic activity happened some 1 billion years ago. Other areas would have 2 or 3 billion years ago volcanic activities. So comparison of different materials from different nations could also be useful.
Wow. And of course, technologically, this is going to pave the way for the next launch. As you said, this is not the end goal. It's not the end mission. Every flight, I guess we can say, is a test flight for the next one.
And also we have a redundancy of this mission, a backup plan, Chang'e 6, which is same configuration, but now we have this like a spare part in the warehouse, and we want to invite international partners to join the Chang'e 6 mission, providing them with payload capabilities, powers, so that we can have a joint scientific study in the international community, which is more significant rather than a national project.
And that comes into your specific territory.
Yes.
I do want to just very briefly, sir, to talk about the space station because we're running out of time, but we're coming back. So we're going to leave a little cliffhanger. Just tell us what this is. It looks, if we can tilt it a little bit, because right now I don't think you can get the level of sophistication of this, but if I can just tilt it without breaking it.
Yeah, it is a circling orbit object of 62 plus metric tons around the surface of the moon, surface of the Earth, some 400 kilometers above us, and it's going to be a multiple mission and in-space assembly integration project. It's a huge project for human sustained stay in outer space.
And then we did some tests, prototypes types, I would say, with our other
the Tiangong 1 and Tiangong 2.
The Heavenly Palace missions.
Yes, those missions are validation of individual technologies, including space rendezvous and docking, assembly, space arm validations, as well as space fueling, because you need to fuel the station to alleviate the orbit. And also you can see a little robotic arm underneath here, which is for future assembly integration and deployment of scientific objects. So this complex is very useful for microgravity studies inside and outside, and also for deployment of small satellites from it, and to collect also scientific data and return those samples back to Earth. This will be very conducive for scientific studies, for medicals and future medicines, and future protein studies, and many other areas that can benefit our daily life.
Right, and then basically the longest period that a Chinese astronaut had stayed in space was for 33 days, right? And this baby here is going to be able to sustain live in space for...
Could be years.
Could be years, quite extended periods of time.
Yes.
So we're going to leave it there, but like I said, it's a cliffhanger. We're coming back for more on China's space station, but my colleagues Xu Xinchen and Jason Lightfoot is actually on a boat out in the ocean. Let's cross live to them.
Don't envy us too much.
Yes, it's quite rough out here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We are 20 nautical miles from the Qinglan port in Wenchang, and just right behind us, about 3 kilometers away, that is the Wenchang Space Launch Center.
Yes, the Wenchang Space Launch Center. And it has been specially sited in this location because it has a very low latitude. Yeah, it's only 19 degrees north of the equator, and this is to allow for the launch center to have a increased payload necessary for launching China's future space station.
larger spacecraft that often will be carried out by rockets here in Wenchang, and the 2 main rockets. We have the Long March 5 and Long March 7, and in the future, even heavier duty rockets here. By the way, I'm CGTN Xu Xinchen here with Jason Lightfoot, very famous on the internet. We just learned this in a couple of days and in a couple of hours, and we need a little bit experts here, but not a specialist. It's just an enthusiast, space enthusiast here from Wenchang. We have Joni with us, 周宁老师，这边您啊，
你好。
Joni was born here in Wenchang and grew up here in Wenchang, and then actually are an architect by training but also a space enthusiast, and actually witnessed the establishment, the building of this Wenchang Launch Center. 周宁老师啊，就是其实在2016年，就是您还是初中生对吧？
对。
能讲一下当时您最早看到这个文昌厂在建设这种感情吗？就感觉是怎样的？
当时我听到国家要在我们文昌建设这个航天城的时候，我是非常开心的。包括我们很多文昌本地的那些朋友啊，还有同学啊，都很向往和
很开心是吗？对，
很开心，对。然后
Don't be nervous， 别紧张，我先简单翻译一下。So just ask Joni about like back in 2016 when he knew and first saw the satellite, the Space Launch Center was topped up, and how he felt about it. And he said he was super excited, and also people around him in Wenchang felt pretty excited about it. 但是第一次目睹这个我们的火箭发射是什么时候啊？
目睹发射的话是2016年7月。应该是7月吧，然后当时我是很早就来了，早上那天晚上也没睡好觉，第二天早上8点多就从我们家坐着大巴车，然后就到龙楼了。当时天气的话也不是很好，下的毛毛细。当时以为说发射的时候可能也会这种天气吧，但是就是一直很开心，很快，很想一直马上看到那种发射啊。然后
我还简单翻译一下。So we just ask Joni again, like when was the exact time for his first experience of seeing the rocket launching here at Wenchang? He said it was like in July 2016, and he woke up very early and taking the bus to the side and to see the rocket launching. But actually, because we were thinking about space technology, is very far away, is very technological driven and advanced. But actually, a lot of things are pretty relevant to people's life. For example, satellite technology can support our cellular signals.
Yeah, 5G on the phone.
Of course, and the navigation, etc. But of course, just in your eyes, how do you feel like when you see rocket launched here, and why that you're interested in space technology? 周宁老师就是因为看到我们讲到航天技术和我们生活息息相关啊，虽然它很高大上，但就是您为什么觉得就这么感兴趣呢？对航天技术？
因为第一个的话是感觉对未知的神秘的话都有一种向往吧。然后宇宙那么浩瀚，然后像很多东西的话我们都没有了解，去探索，去发现。 很多的话就是说，包括我们现在用的一些智能产品，都要离不开这个火箭，然后把卫星送上天去来链接我们的智能设备。包括什么定位啊，或者说一些气象啊这些东西，然后就是跟我们生活息息相关吧。基本上这样。
So, and Mr. Zhou just said that he is interested in terms of like exploring all the unknown out there in the outer space area, and he actually reinforced our just what I talked about, like how space technology is relevant to people's daily life, like navigations, cellular signals, and even for like weather forecasts, because we're gonna see the when how it moves, and all these things are powered by satellite technologies, and. Oh my God! I love the tides. I love the wave. And actually, we all have the ear patches, so that is for car sick, and hopefully that will help.
Yeah, to try and stop you getting seasick.
Yes.
Because if you do suffer from seasickness, then you will definitely be feeling it today on this boat.
It's like a roller coaster, and
it's up and down.
I'm feeling it right now, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm feeling it a little bit. Yeah.
But you have Viking blood.
I'm used to it.
But anything for like, but for you, Jason. Like, have you ever been interested or drawn to like space technology before?
Yeah, I mean, I've only ever seen it, what you see in the movies, like in the science fiction movies. But yeah, to be here today and like actually see a space like launch site and to talk about things like rockets and space stations, it sounds like science fiction, but actually in today's age, it's becoming science fact.
Absolutely. So definitely, let's bring like joining back into this discussion about science fiction, because there are a lot of films like Interstellar, and even in China we had like Wandering Earth, and a creative literature work called The Three Body, and just what's your take about how much of the science fiction contents could come to reality? Like from your observation， 就是我们看到现在其实有很多科幻作品啊，像那个星际穿越啊，就像流浪地球、三体，就是这样子科幻的内容。然后看到像文昌发射基地啊，就是我们有哪些东西你觉得已经在慢慢的变成现实了？
打个比方说，前面说到的电影的话，除了的话还有一个火星救援，就相当于我们这次我们天问发射上去之后，也是准备可能在下个月可能要降落了，着陆在火星上。这个的话，就像我感觉我对未来的我们中国航天的憧憬的话，就是我倒是很希望我们的重型火箭长征9号能马上出来，然后我们的载人，我们的人能登到月球去，我们的中国人的脚步能踏到月球的地面上去，我感觉这是我所期待的。对。
So Mr. Zhou just said like. In addition to like Interstellar and all these movies, there's another movie called like Mars.
Oh yeah.
Have you watched that movie?
I think I've seen a few on Mars. There's a few of them like they go to Mars.
Yeah, absolutely. And he said like there's a rover here in China is going to land on Mars very soon, and and that brings the futuristic science fiction closer to reality. And of course, and Mr. Zhou also touched on very important. Ideas about like because China is building like bigger and bigger rockets. There's another one is called Long March 9, allegedly, and which will be able to carry bigger like spacecrafts. And of course here in Wenchang, and because like Long March 5 and Long March 7, as you have mentioned, the increased payload, that these two giant rockets are capable of moving bigger stuff into the space. And actually, I've heard. The rockets launched here will be responsible for sending like parts of China's space station.
Oh yeah,
and that will and that will help further the humans' exploration into the outer space. And also, Mr. Zhou said another thing. He has this. He's very optimistic and hopes that the Chinese astronauts can one day land on the moon, because China is also delving into like sending astronauts. Into the space and for deeper space exploration. But then speaking of like space technology in terms of just Wenchang, the city's development, what are some of changes that we witnessed during the past few years? 那么其实就是看到我们的文昌厂来到之后，城市的建设有变化吗？
城市的变化还是很大的。 打比方说16年的时候，我首飞的时候过来，他当时文昌厂的话，很多工地或者说项目的话，它正在建设。他以前的话就是说，可能有些设施可能从一个小渔村慢慢的往一个形象城市形象的在发展。然后包括我也是因为冷场厂好久没有任务之后，去年的19年的长遥3的时候，我过来发现这里的变化好大了，因为我也是2、3年没过来了，然后一下子变化的感觉。真的是让我焕然就耳目一新的感觉。
长三就2019年的时候嘛。
对，2019年12月。
So recap a little bit, just the time. It's really like
It's rocking now.
Yeah, it's I love this. I love my job very much. It's like doing my work, but
on a roller coaster
and for free and for like 20 minutes or so. And I just asked Mr. Zhou about like the changes to the city after the launch center.
Yeah, because he saw it. He lived here and grew up here, so he saw everything change.
Yeah, and Mr. Zhou told me that like the infrastructure, and it was like a fishing village many years ago before the launch center came to the city, and then they started to have like better roads and a better infrastructure. And after he saw the first launch in 2016, he came back for the second one back in his second observation like back in 2019. He really become fascinated by it.
Yeah, it must have, especially growing up here and seeing like everything change, and it must have really inspired him to get like interested in like space and space exploration and ships and.
And what I just found quite interesting is like because like for Mr. Zhou's job, the day job is the architect. And actually for the people, he hang out with are coming from like all different walks of life. They're not all just space technicians or specialists. And it's like this interest has been rooted in people, around here, and for even young people, they start to be interested into space technology because of this launch center.
Yeah.
那周先生啊，就是我们其实。你身边这些航天爱好者啊，就是各行各业嘛。
对。
大部分都是做什么的呀？
据我所了解，像我个人的话是做建筑，还有一些我另一个要好的话也是建筑，还有一些的话是各行各业，然后有一些的话是也有航天相关的那些产业的那些朋友，还有一些的话是退休后然后专门来做摄影的爱好者。他们拍的照片的话，就是包括他们对这行热爱的话，就是基本上每次到场的话，他们每次火箭发射的话，他们都会到场。就我见过，他们可能会比我们更热爱一点。
So Mr. Joseph told us that in addition to like architects or other space enthusiasts, I mean he specifically point out like those retired people, and they are photographers, like amateur photographers, but they will be here like for all different launch events. So right now I think in Wenchang there are 8 or 9 launches already. 就是已经是有8、9次的发射了，对吧？在Wenchang。
对，已经应该是有8、9次了。
And there will be more coming to this launch center, and there are a lot of people are cheering for it because this is the only launch center here in China out of the 4 launch centers already established that actually regular people can observe from afar. Because the hotel that we lived by, right?
The Hilton Hotel. Yeah, you're supposed to have the best view of the launch from there. Yeah, and I guess you could book a room there and have a nice view of the.
And I also want to point this out, just because Wenchang's center are capable of launch like bigger rockets, and some of these rockets cannot be transported by via like rail, so they transport it via sea.
Yeah, they utilize the port here.
And we just passed by one of those ships that actually carrying the rocket. It's a gigantic ship, and it's of course it's a container, but we can see the logo, and that's something that local people feel like attached to space exploration because they can see.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see the actual ship that carries the rocket inside. Yeah, with your own eyes to see it yourself. Yeah, it's impressive.
There's a lot of photos, a lot of like can spark young people's enthusiasm in terms of like
inspire them.
Because this movie Interstellar, right? Is a lot of the science fiction movies. I think a lot of them are coming true. It's like we need to plant a seed in younger generation, right?
Yeah, to be interested in space exploration or to become an astronaut.
Yeah. I got very fascinated by all of this after talking with some other specialists, and of course, including Mr. Zhao. I become more interested in space technology, but of course, I think I'm too old to go back to school and to study everything again. But of course, for the younger people, younger generations, they can actually give more hope to the humanity to actually explore about this outer space, and including the sea, right? Because not just China, but of the world, of course, the world are delving deeper into the blue economy. It's not just about resources, but it's also about sustainability, about like expand the living spaces of humanity, because we just have so many people on this planet. Right?
Yeah. Maybe one day we'll be colonizing the universe, or colonizing the moon, Mars, with some kind of Mars station. Yeah. Hopefully one day.
Yeah, we're already sending people out there in the space stations. My last question for you, Mr. Zhao. It's about like 因为现在已经有太空站，就是对外太空了嘛，就中国的太空站也很快就会启用。
对。
你有什么向往吗？就是你会向往自己有一天也可以去外太空吗？
我当人的话就非常向往这种机会，但希望的话就是说古国的话以后的科技会更好的发展，就是可能的话就是能让不只是我吧，可能让大批的民众或者说更多的人民能够上到太空去见证不一样的世界。
So just ask Mr. Zhao about because what he wants to do, and one day all these space technology comes to reality, like sending people out there in a space station, living and whatnot. And he said he wants to go out space as well, but the bigger hope is that it actually, China is capable to sending more people out there to explore. It's not just for those individuals, astronauts, or
try
people.
And make it available to the public to be able to go up onto a space flight. I mean, that would just be fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely.
You hear a lot about SpaceX and NASA, but I think in the next 10 to 20 years, you're going to be hearing a lot more about China's space program, and I definitely think that it will be rising up at a world level, especially in the next 20 years, and maybe hopefully soon, and you'll be able to catch a flight to the moon. Maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been a bumpy ride, and thanks for sticking with us, and I hope that I can give you a different perspective of seeing Wenchang Satellite Launch Center and give you a different views about China's development in terms of its space technology. And a huge thanks to the viewers and of course our crew.
Yeah.
And
thank you to everyone. And then after this, we're going to try and recover.
A little
bit. The rockiness, the seasickness. I think we should be okay.
Yeah, and we're sending back to the beach, and my colleague Gerald Xu is in the hotel. And without the wave, without the tide.
Yeah, they're much more lucky than us. They're in a nice hotel. Yeah.
I mean, we're lucky. I think we are luckier because they won't have the chance to have this kind of experience, like a roller coaster experience. And but of course, each will have a little bit of afternoon tea, I guess, inspired by the space, by the theme here at Wenchang. And of course, huge thanks to Mr. Zhou who was riding with us on the ship. And Icho, take it away.
Thank you, Xingchen. Indeed, rocket launch is full of fantasies and wonders, so it not only attracts space lovers, but also the ordinary people from China and the world. Hi, everybody. This is Rachel from CGTN. I want to see the rocket launch with my own eyes. As simple as that, people come here to Wenchang City to feel the rock. Wow, there's a summer drink. Yummy. Cheers. Okay, let's see the beach views, okay? I want to especially mention that today marks the 6th anniversary of the International Day of the Human Space Flight. And just exactly 60 years ago, Gagarin became the first humans to enter into the outer space. So with this special day, our special series Tides of Change, have a special guest. Wow, there's a beautiful sea view. We can feel the touch of the breeze, and we can see the beautiful coconut trees and the space, and we can see the launching center right there. And now we have our special guest, Mr. Simpson Han, the general manager of the Hilton Hotel at Wenchang City, to talk about more about how the people's enthusiasm about space technology and how the rocket launch gonna boost the local economy and the local industries. Hello, Mr. Han. Welcome to our show. Good afternoon.
Welcome to the city of space, Wenchang.
Thank you. It's been quite an adventure to be here. It's a very special experience. And now I think it's 2:40 in the PM, and maybe it's time for the afternoon tea with a very special space theme.
Yeah, have a seat.
Thank you.
It's the first time you have been to come to Hainan?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Wow, here's our afternoon tea. It's very, wow, there are so many elements. We can see the...
This is special from our hotel to all the guests, right?
With the space theme.
Exactly.
Okay, we can see the rocket cupcake. We can see the rocket cookies. We can even see space...
The airplanes, right?
Yeah, airplanes. Yeah. Wow, that's very charming. And for the audience, that if you are watching the live streaming, you can leave your comments, tell us which one do you want us to eat first, okay? Leave your comments and let us know. Could you please introduce our very, very special thing, afternoon tea for us?
Right, first of all, it is not special for you, it is special for all the guests here.
Yes, welcome to Wenchang City.
Right, Wenchang now is a very, really big city because we have always seen now, if you have been to Sanya, it's Sanya of China.
Yeah.
If you've been to Buao, the Buao is of Asia. But now is the Wenchang is for the this is for the universe, right?
Yeah, it's very special experience. A very perfect combination of the sea views, of the beach breeze, and always the space theme. So it's a very perfect combination for all these elements.
Exactly.
And I can check the comments to see which one do you want us to take a bite first.
Problem, right.
Okay, and yeah, people say that they want to eat this cupcake.
Right. Okay. Let's try.
We can have a cupcake toast.
Yeah, cheers, right?
Cheers, cupcake, cheers.
Welcome to
cheers,
Wenchang.
audience. Hello,
welcome
to Wenchang City. Oh, we have this special rocket. Is this? Can we eat this?
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's all chocolate.
Okay.
How the taste?
It's good. It's very sweet. Just like the whole atmosphere in Wenchang City.
It's very welcome by the guests in the hotel.
Wow.
We sell hundreds in a week, a lot. So Wenchang now, everybody knows about Wenchang for the numerous coconut, right?
Yeah.
Because here the biggest product place of the coconut. Also, it's space for the you have a 4 dish in Hainan and Wenchang chicken on the top.
Yeah.
But now it's getting more and more famous in the past 5 years, I think.
Yeah.
It's just since the construction of the rocket site being constructed and being used.
Okay.
Right.
You know, when I eating this cupcake, my thoughts are traced back to Jiuquan City, where I did another rocket launch report there, and it was based in the Gobi Desert, very mysterious. And now people can eat this afternoon tea while feel the touch of the breeze and admire the beautiful coastline, the beautiful sea view while watching the satellite and the rocket launch, right? So it's very unique experience. So Mr. Han, could you please tell us from the mysterious Gobi Desert to the sea views while we're doing the satellite launch, what changed?
Okay, maybe everybody knows the rocket launch always in some tough pace, right?
Yeah.
Actually, now it's not like that.
Yeah.
Because now here in Wenchang, this site is especially for the big rockets, and also it's in the low latitude of China, even in the world. This means you have a shorter time and shorter distance to go up to where the destination is, right? So here it's also very natural, very public, so everybody can observe, can view this launch moment on the beach in the hotel. So that is welcome for all the people from all over the world.
Yeah.
Right.
So as you just mentioned, the Wenchang city, it has the lowest latitude satellite point, and we can see that it's very close to the equator. So it will increase the same type of the rocket's carrying capacity into like 10%. That is a very impressive number. And among those launching experience, for example, the Long March 7 and Long March 5, which sent into the Chang'e into the Luna, and the Tianwen 1 into Mars.
Just
Among
recently.
all these launching experiences, which one impresses you the most?
Oh,
From
actually,
this hotel,
I have been
yeah.
here for around 1.5 years. They have several launch activities has been launched, right? So I think a lot of stories here because every time, we have more than 400 rooms in the hotels.
Yeah,
every time,
there's a huge number.
when I show some pictures to you, right?
Yeah.
So. The special is
You can see
the
the
location
space
is
elements
very,
everywhere.
Yeah. So
Okay.
this is the hotel. This is the launch center, right? The launch center, this
yeah.
site is very close, and also this is one from last year. You see, it's just a bay. We are in the side of the bay. That is over the side, right?
Yeah.
So,
wow.
and every time you see, it's a lot of people on the beach is viewing this launch. Right?
Could you please describe one particular launching experience of how's the view on the beach and in the hotels when the launching's on the way?
To be honest, every time I was so much moved because a lot of people.
Each single time
Exactly,
you are touched.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I touched from this great moment from China, and also I touched from the audience.
Yeah.
They're coming from the hotel, they're coming from the public. For example, last year I remember the one lady, because at that moment everybody cheers, they're very excited, and also a lot of people tears.
Wow.
Right, because they cheers for the successful launch.
Yeah.
Right, and also the tears for wow, this is China.
Yeah.
This is the great, behaviors on the space.
Witness with my own eyes the
Exactly.
Chinese innovation achievements.
Right, so every time it's a kind of education, I think.
Wow.
It's very positive, very
Yeah.
encouragement for all Chinese people
Wow.
to the world, I
Yeah,
think,
that's
right?
very impressive.
Yeah.
Let's cheers for
Cheers.
the Chinese
Right.
achievements on the space
Yeah.
technology.
Yeah.
And cheers to you.
Yeah, cheers.
And let me see the comments to see which other kind of the afternoon tea our audience want us to take a bite with.
Okay.
Okay? Okay. They wanted us to take a bite of the macaron and the chocolate astronaut type cookies.
Okay.
We can.
Yeah, airspaceman, right?
Yeah.
So now if you come to
Macaron.
Hainan, everybody talking about Wenchang.
Yeah.
And now everybody in Wenchang, they're talking about the aerospace. They're talking about rocket launch. They're talking about, the great job of China. So this is the Wenchang. And now for Hainan is making on the way of building a free trade port.
Yeah.
This it already knows, right?
Yes.
And also,
Very great policy.
yeah, Wenchang is contribute on the big issue. This is a space city.
Yeah.
This will be space city for the China and also space city of world.
Yeah.
Of the world.
And
right.
as you mentioned, when I'm picking up the cupcakes, when I'm picking up the macarons and the chocolate, rocket chocolates, I'm thinking about it's very kids-friendly afternoon tea. So families,
Lovely one, huh?
It's very
Yeah.
lovely. I don't want to take a bite of that because they are kind of heroes, but they are quite cute side and cute recipes. So when I'm picking up one of these, I'm thinking about that it's very kids-friendly. Like family can actually take children there to get educated and to have a space technology feel when they were little, right?
Exactly. Actually, during the lunch days, the hotel is full.
Yeah.
Right, it's full of the
Can
experts.
have a
Right.
view there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hotels are full. We can
The
see
hotels
there are
full.
so many hotels. They're all occupied while the launching, right?
Exactly. So it's full of the experts from the technical persons, right, and also from the tourists, kids and families.
Yeah.
Also, we have some long-stay guests. You can stay here for several days
Yeah.
just for this viewing of
Yeah.
the time. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and apart from the launching, during the normal days, what other places do you recommend the tourists to go in Wenchang? Because the whole launching things can boost the whole industries with the space theme and with the local tourism in Wenchang City, right?
Yes, it's a very good question because for the launching days, it's only several days or tens days in a year. And out of there, so we have a lot of activities we designed for the kids, for the families. Also, we have a theme, aerospace theme groups, right? And also now we have also the rooms for the kids' room. It's the theme of aerospace, of science. And now we are doing some decoration in the hotel for some aerospace elements. And nearby here, firstly, this is the Qishui Bay, which is the best bay in China, we can see. Also, up there, it's not far away. We have also Tongguling City. Tongguling Mountain. This mountain is the most northeast of Hainan. And also, just over there, the 2 kilometers away, you can see the 2 towers. These 2 towers is the launch site. Also, just in the gate of the launch site, we have a science museum. It's for aerospace. So now it's getting more and more this kind of constructions and this kind of place. Now it's building, it's designing. So it's getting more and more society here. The society will be a space society, aerospace society. And also this is the pillar, economic pillar of Wenchang and Hainan.
So it has a perfect tourism destination combined with a space theme and combined with the sea views. So it's very fantastic. And thank you, Mr. Han, for joining us to our show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Okay, and let's go back to the rocket. And as we can see, during these days, I'm always wondering that why so many people gather together here to witness the rocket launching, which is seemingly irrelative with our normal days. I think it brought up our human nature, our curiosity. So curiosity is always the driving force and the motivation of the human development. And this is Rachel, and I will give floors to my colleague Tao Yuan because you can see the beautiful sea beach views, and Tao Yuan will give us more about his views. Tao Yuan?
Thank you, Yiqiu. So Professor Xu and I haven't finished talking about the space station yet. So you just said during our last part that this is going to be launched in phases?
Yes, they will be separated into different segments. Of course, the core part, which is the white part in the center.
The spherical part in the middle.
Exactly. And that part, along with the service module, will be launched as the first mission. That mission will lay a foundation for future connection and rendezvous and docking missions. So that core will go up first, and then followed by a number of missions, unmanned missions for robotic arms. And as you can see, the yellow part on your index figure is the robotic arm that can help the assembly integration of the space station into outer space. So bring those samples and grab them and bring them together, and that is going to be a very ambitious and stage-by-stage mission. So it's not going to be done by a single mission. It will be a multiple mission, followed by a manned mission.
So, okay, the spherical module is going to go up first, and this is basically going to be the living room for the astronauts.
And that, in fact, if you call it living room, it connects all the other rooms, but it's not a living space. It's just a connecting point. And then it will be also inhabit modules and scientific modules. And also modules for exposed experiments.
Exposed experiments would be this.
Yes, exactly.
This right here.
This part. And then you can also see the robotic arms that will be used to maneuver the exposed payload and instrument outside the station. So it can be done, can be controlled remotely. So it is a station that is going to be built by segments, and it will take 1 or 2 years to complete.
And then we're going to be able to send men into the space station.
Exactly. Once the supply is there and the oxygen is generated and all the living, what we call consuming parts are there, we're going to create a living environment so we can send astronauts to attend those scientific missions.
Right, and they're going to be able to live here for 2 to 3 years.
It will be rotated, and of course that is going to be for long-term sustained human presence.
Right. That's just unthinkable if you really think about it, sending men into space and for them to live there for a long period of time.
It's going to be above us about 400 kilometers and traveling at a speed of what we call it the first cosmic speed, which is about 7 kilometers per second, and it's very fast moving, and it's circling around the moon many times in a day. So you see sunset and sunrise in that particular areas, and also it's going to be sustained for human presence. And also we do have international cooperation on these projects. The European astronauts has been trained in China many times, and so that they're also learning Chinese. So I hope that its future station can be also very international.
So future, it's going to be a very international crew living together.
Yes, we're looking forward to that.
And I assume the astronauts are in training now?
They're already in training, and also we're also in the selection process of new astronauts. So I certainly hope that the astronaut team can be sustained as well for a long period of time.
I also suppose that the training is going to be very tough. Underwater training.
Yes, there will be underwater training, diving to simulate the microgravity environment in outer space.
How similar is it to stay underwater and to stay in space?
Let's say that all astronauts retired, they are going to one hobby, diving. So they go to different exquisite areas for diving experiments because they're used to this microgravity environment. It is just like floating in water. So it's very similar.
So they're going to be able to come to Hainan, the island that we're on right now, in order to, satisfy their hobby. But Professor, I do want to ask you, people think that rockets are so far away from their everyday life. I never given it much thought before coming here on this journey. But it's actually quite close to our everyday life. It's quite essential to...
We don't feel it because you can't see it, you can't feel it. And once it is launched, it disappears. But you use that every day. And we do use it because we tell climate, we tell weather. Those are done by weather satellites. We collect data for remote sensing, for applications. Those are areas that we can study like remotely by using satellites. We use satellite to communicate. Telecommunications and TV broadcastings are all done by satellites. And also one particular application is navigation. If you switch on the applications of navigations, you use the GPS and Beidou and GLONASS and many other satellites. Those are comprised by constellation series of more than 30 satellites. For example, Beidou has 34 satellites. So all these satellites are serving you constantly, and you don't feel it because you take it for granted. But we have a saying that if you switch space off for one day, you'll feel the pain. So it's very useful for our daily life.
So you just basically, if you switch off space for 1 second, you basically just unplug everything. No phone, no GPS, no TV, no radio, no nothing.
So basically you're back to Stone Age.
Back to Stone Age, indeed. And if I get this right, this is the Long March 7, right?
This is the Long March 2F. This is for the manned mission.
This is, yes, I was going to say that this is for the manned mission. So the astronauts who are going to go to this space station to live there,
This is launching this part. So this part is the return capsule plus the service module. That will be inside this fairing. So once it's done, once it's open, it's like that. And the astronauts will go into space on board this launch vehicle, the Long March 2F.
Right. And so here's my big hat question now. Why do we go through so much efforts to explore the universe, to send men into the sky? I mean, why do these astronauts sacrifice their family, their health, their time to do this? I mean, what's the end purpose? What's the ultimate goal of mankind's space exploration?
Well, let's say we have two goals. One is low Earth orbit or near Earth orbit. So these satellites, like I said, telecommunication, navigation, remote sensing, those are for serving this people on the surface of the Earth, for navigations, for telecommunication, many other applications. But for human missions, as well as exploration missions, the Moon, Mars, and beyond missions, we try to escape the gravity of the Earth by all these efforts, separating their families, making very hard livings in outer space, as well as traveling to the Moon and Mars in the near future. We want to become interplanetary species. We are still basically in the cradle of the Earth. And we want to be more ambitious and explore more higher level of civilization. We have to realize through space. On Earth, we can do just so much. But in outer space, there's no limit. So become interplanetary species and become very more civilized and to better protect our Earth, I think is the ultimate goal.
Right. So we have the ocean right here. Our other teams of colleagues have dived deep into the ocean, and today we're going up into the space to reach for the stars. And that's all from us. Thank you for watching this leg of Tides of Change, and we'll see you again tomorrow.